drought has definitely broken here in Spain. It's been raining a lot lately actually. Most days we seem to be getting at least one shower and nothing really has the chance to dry off before it gets wet again. I don't know what it is, but this dampness and rain just gives the farm and the whole area a totally different feel. All the colours are different, everything's just kind of softer and gentler. I don't know, maybe it's the Brit in me, but I really love this kind of weather. When we do get some dry weather, I'm still working through a number of projects that I've been trying to finish before the winter. Well, I was hoping to finish them before the rain started actually, but I guess it's too late for that now. So it's been kind of stop and start. Whenever it's dry enough, I'm out there working, and when it's not, I am not. This wood store is the main thing that I've been working on over the last few weeks. So the beams to support the roof are in place now. You can see we're fully committed to using this decking board stuff as a construction material. It's just the cheapest wood I could find in the DIY store. We haven't actually found a good lumberyard anywhere around here yet, so I'm kind of limited to buying what I can get in DIY stores, and everything's very expensive there, so yeah, this was the cheapest we could find. The plan for the roof is pallet wood. It'll be at an angle like this piece, but a bit longer. We'll cover it with slats of pallet wood, and then I'm going to put over the top a roofing felt material, tack it onto the boards to cover up any little cracks in between them, and also just because I wanted to experiment with doing like a traditional looking shed roof here. I've actually got a bit of a bad habit, which is just taking apart the bits of the pallets that I need and then leaving the rest piled up around here, semi-deconstructed, and they're messy. I don't like seeing them there, and there's actually a lot of good wood in there which I just haven't been bothered to take out. So my new rule is I'm not going to do that anymore. When a pallet gets deconstructed, it gets completely deconstructed, all the nails get saved, all the bits of wood, as small or insignificant as they might be, get stored somewhere. You can always use them for kindling if they're really small, or you never know when a bit of wood like this might come in handy. So I'm going to sort that mess out. We're going to deconstruct all the remaining bits of pallets, and yeah, then hopefully not get into this situation again. Okay, we're done. That was a long and very sweaty job. Some of those pallets really didn't want to come apart, but we've now got a pile of, I guess, kindling, these blocks, which I'm sure they're going to be super handy for something. As far as I know, pallet wood is untreated, so if we can split these down a little bit more, we'll have a huge supply of kindling here and it'll be safe to burn in the stove. It looks untreated. I don't know how I would tell for sure otherwise. Let me know if you know, but yeah, hopefully this is all untreated and we can burn it. Potentially useful but splintered planks. Useful planks which just aren't quite the right size for this project. And here, lots of planks that are going to be perfect for the roof. I might even have enough, so I'm going to go and see now if they will cover the whole section that I want to cover. Yeah, it's a wonky shaped roof because it's a wonky shaped wood store. Just come out for a little walk with the dogs. It's the perfect temperature. So we've had some changes lately. You're going to be seeing Mauro a lot more, probably.
Unfortunately for you.
In the videos from now on, because he now lives here as well. So almost a year to the day since I first moved here on my own last year. He has now finally joined me, so yay.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, we've had it planned for a little while. The plan was always really at some point for Mauro to get a fully remote job and be here all the time. But for that to happen, he had to get a fully remote job. And he was pretty happy in his previous job before then, so it wasn't really a priority. And I also had to do some stuff to make the living arrangements and stuff a bit more comfortable here. So I'm speaking for you. But
No, it's all true.
it's all true. I feel like this is the part where we say, oh, it's such a big sacrifice, but it's one that we had to make. But it wasn't a huge sacrifice, really.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't a bad situation. For me, it just felt inefficient because we were doing a lot of unnecessary, well, not unnecessary, but like pointless car trips, and there was also, for me, at least for me personally, there was a big disconnect between my life in the city going to work and my life here. Yeah, I would come at the weekend and it would just take me one day to get used to back to the countryside life, and then it would take me another day to prepare for going back to the city, and then going back to the city was just, oh, I wish I was there. So it was always like a bit of a uncomfortable situation.
So what does that mean for our future plans? Well, Mauro is still going to be working, so although he'll be around more, he still won't have the time that I have to do projects and stuff, although he'll obviously work on stuff with me at the weekends. And yeah, just by being there is going to be a big help. You know, before we were sort of between us trying to manage 2 houses, which is one house too many, when he had the flat in the city. So things are going to be easier. I think the great thing about this life, I guess, that we've chosen or are trying to kind of make for ourselves, is that we're in a position now where, you know, our expenses are so low that we can easily live off one salary, which makes a huge difference to our choices and our options. At the minute it's him who's earning the salary. At some point it may be me again. Just kind of makes more sense that way, based on the priorities that we have and the things that we want to start learning about. First of all, for us, I guess this farmstead, this project, is about resilience and about building a life that we believe will kind of work out well for us in the future. And for us, we thought the most important thing to really get started with learning about and putting into place was the growing the food, the garden, integrating ourselves with the local community, and the building and stuff like that can wait. So yeah, we thought I'll focus on some of this stuff at the moment, and there will be a time when we want to renovate our ruin, and Mauro will be a lot more involved in that. That's how we kind of want to split things.
Yeah.
But it's not the time for that yet, so this is the way that we've kind of worked out who's doing what at the moment, and it's working pretty well for us right now. So you probably won't really see any changes as far as what we're sharing goes and what we're doing goes.
I always find it funny that there's a lot of people that comment that it's like, oh, Mauro could do a bit more work. And it's like, well, like 90% of the time that you're filming, you are actually on your own.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not there holding the camera.
Yeah, well, Mauro does a super important job. I mean, we need money.
Oh my love, you're such a fragile thing, I know. And with the winter comes the ice, the snow, but I'm here to hold. And oh my love, don't worry about the cold just yet.
I'm a bit stuck with the wood shelter at the moment because I've got the roof on and I've got a few more posts in the ground ready to extend it in this direction, but I haven't been able to put the asphalt roofing material on because it's just been raining on and off for, I would say, the last couple of weeks. It's kind of raining now, and yeah, the roof is obviously wet, and I feel like putting the asphalt stuff on top of the wet wood is just not a good start. So yeah, we're waiting until it's dry. Although my wood shelter build is paused for now, with all this rain and the ground just kind of damp and moist and easier to work, I'm thinking it might be a good time to try and do some sowing of some cover crops and green manures, which I have already done a little bit in some areas, but I've had a bit of a problem with ants and they've literally just stolen all of the seeds. I saw them at it and nothing has really germinated. So I'm going to try again in a different area where I don't think there's quite so many ant nests. But I wanted to show you what we've got. So I've got a green manure mixture for dry lands. This is a mix that you can sow at the end of summer or in February. I think I sowed some in February and it did really well, and I've got a lot more, so I want to cover like a bigger area with this. I might try and sow this actually in our dry lands field. It's a pretty big field and it's going to be a lot of work to kind of sow it by hand, but without any kind of machinery, that's the only option I've really got at the moment, and it's going to establish hopefully a permanent kind of cover crop in that field. So I'll let it mature, let the seeds develop, let the seeds fall to the floor, and year on year it should keep producing those annuals, which are going to help improve the soil and support the trees that are growing in there, and just keep the ground covered. So that's the plan with this one. We've also got white barley. Again, this is good to sow either in the autumn or in January, February, so I could try some of this now. I'm not sure where to sow this, whether to mix it with the other mix or, yeah, I'm not sure. More white barley. This is like a wildflower cover crop mix, which is for the spring, so I can leave that for now. A green manure mix of alfalfa and mustards. This is for sowing through from May to September, so it's September, we're just in time for that. Again, this establishes a permanent cover crop if that's what you want, so I'll have to think about where to put this and whether I can put it somewhere where I want a permanent ground cover. I suppose it doesn't matter if you do want to cut it down and turn it into the soil and use it more as like a green manure that actually gets added to the soil. So yeah, I need to think about this. Herb. What is herb? That's not so helpful. Vicia Villia. Okay, it's bitter vetch. Traditionally sown, I think, before the 29th of September, so now seems like a good time to try and do this one as well. Right, let's have a think about this then. What I really want to do is start working more on this field behind me. This is the field that's just opposite the kitchen garden area, and in this field I want to do it more traditionally. Instead of having beds, I want to have rows, and I really want to try flood irrigation in this field as well. So I've got a bit of work to do to actually get to that point where I can be growing like that. But this autumn and winter I did want to at least try and get maybe some green manure sowed, so that in the spring I've got something there that's grown during the winter and that I can work into the soil to add some extra fertility, because I'm pretty sure it's going to need it. This little section is just kind of in front of the teepee. There's actually a little stone wall that divides the area where we've put the teepee from the rest of the field. That was originally a division in ownership, and the little parcel where we've got the teepee we actually bought separately. So you've got this little line here, so I'm thinking everything on this side of that line going down past the chickens is served by irrigation canals, which need a lot of repair work, but in theory it's served by flood irrigation. So it's along this field that I really want to do like rows and have those rows like flood irrigated. But I'm only going to do like 1 or 2 rows to begin with and see how that kind of works for me. Things that you grow in like bigger quantities, you know, like potatoes or corn or grains, stuff for the chickens, stuff for the goats, it makes a lot more sense just to do it in long rows and not in little beds where you've got things dotted around everywhere. So that's what I really want to start doing in this field. Luna! Stop it! Oi! Okay, I need to widen it a bit, check the depth, make sure it's going in the right slope. So that's going to take a while, but I think that's all I can do for today. I definitely couldn't do more than one of those in a day, I don't think. As with everything, if there's like a manual option, I like to do things manually at least once to see what the work is that's involved before deciding whether it's worth doing it with a machine of some sort, renting one or buying one or whatever. So yeah, this wasn't too bad. I wondered if I would need like a rotavator to break up the soil and then be able to move it more easily. But I think if the soil's a bit damp, it's really not too bad. And there's only 7 of these gates in this field. So if this does work well and I want to do the other 6, then it's just 6 more days of digging these rows and these channels. And that's really not that much work for something that you only do as a one-off. So I'm pretty happy with the progress today. I've actually got a pretty crazy idea for this channel. Once I've tidied it up and once it's raining again and I'm ready to sow the green manure, I'll show you what I'm planning to do. Come then, Luna. What's this? A ball? What's this then? So here's the tray, or at least my first prototype of a tray. It's pretty badly done. The wood split, obviously. This wood is so thin and kind of fragile, but I think I kind of saved the situation with these little pieces. I don't know how to join wood together, but it kind of works. I think I'm gonna make some sort of door with a piece of this plastic material. Kind of like this one, but obviously the right size. This is just left over from some other project that I did that I obviously didn't finish. For now, I'm just going to prop this one up here and get some plums dehydrating in there just to see if it works. And I'll put this here where we've got a gap. I just wanted to get it started really and get something in it before I go to the effort of making like the proper door, just to check that it does work. I guess the question is just whether we have enough hot, dry days coming up to actually dry the plums. Anyway, let's give it a go. Okay, so I have soaked them in lemon water for a few minutes. This is just supposed to stop them from browning. So now I know what I'm doing with the trays. Got a bit of a production line going, and I've cut out all my pieces for the next 7 trays that I'm going to build. Just sanding them down. One of the things that me and Melro both really want to try and get done pretty soon is some kind of workbench and covered area, some sort of lean-to or something like that to work, because yeah, there's just nowhere comfortable to work at the moment, which is a little bit annoying. In the winter we've got nowhere where we can work outside protected from the rain, apart from the kitchen, which isn't always ideal. And in the summer we've got nowhere to be out of the sun, so yeah, it's just a bit awkward. As with literally every project, I thought this was going to be just like a one afternoon quick nice little job to do, and here we are many days later. At this point I'm not even hoping to really be able to use this to dehydrate anything, because I think it's just not hot and dry enough anymore.